Hello and welcome back. This is part 5 of LarryBoy and the Sinister Snow Day. I do apologize, it has been a while, but I'm here now. Let's do some reading. Bumbleberg overcome by ice. Junior leaned into the radio as the announcer continued the broadcast. LarryBoy disappeared while battling Iceberg and his henchmen, the announcer said. Please continue their search. In the meantime, all vehicles are advised to stay off the roads. This includes cars, mopeds, motorized pogo sticks, and school buses. So until further notice, school is canceled. Wahoo! Junior flicked off the radio and ran to the front hall. He threw on his coat, hat, and scarf and raced out the door. His sled was waiting on the porch, where he had left it earlier. He had been pretty confident school would be canceled.
Just when you thought a day couldn't get any better.
Junior looked up at the falling snow. The weather report had called for rain all morning, but the extreme cold caused by the Bumbleberg ice turned the rain into snow. The entire town was blanketed in white. The streets were full of kids. Some had sleds, some ice skates. A snowman was already in progress on the corner. A snowball fight was brewing on the other end of the block. Hey, Junior! Laura Carrot was waving from the street. Percy and Renee stood behind her. Laura pulled the toboggan. Percy and Renee each had snowboards.
Hey, Laura.
We're heading to Mortimer's Run. Wanna come?
Asked Percy.
You bet,
said Junior. The foursome headed up the hill.
Pretty cool, the ice and all, huh?
Asked Percy.
And no one suspects a thing,
said Renee.
I wonder,
said Junior.
About what?
Asked Laura.
Well, they say that LarryBoy tried to stop Iceberg. Why would LarryBoy do that? Unless something was wrong.
What do you mean?
Asked Percy.
We get a snow day and no one got hurt. What could be wrong?
Nothing, I guess,
agreed Junior.
Let's race,
said Laura.
Last one to the top of the hill is a rotten tomato. Or a brown banana, chimed Renee.
Or an apple when it gets those spots that are kind of mushy and...
Percy noticed that the others weren't listening. Instead, they were already speeding away.
Hey, wait for me!
Laughing, the children raced to the top of the hill. Chapter 14. Into everyone's life, a little gloating must fall. That was so easy! Iceberg sat in his bowl in the middle of his hideout. Frostbite, Avalanche, and Snowflake stood around him, listening.
As slick as ice,
said Frostbite.
As smooth as snow, said Avalanche. As orange as my cat,
said Snowflake. The other villains stared at the Snow Pea in confusion.
What? My cat is orange,
explained Snowflake. Anyway, said Iceberg with a scowl, my plan took place without a hitch. The kids played their parts perfectly.
What irony, said Frostbite. Bumbleberg's own kids helped us out.
And we skated circles around the local law enforcement, said Avalanche.
Actually, I did more of a figure 8,
said Snowflake. And Bumbleberg's superhero is just a super joke, said Iceberg.
I heard that,
said LarryBoy. The cucumber sat forlorn in his ice cage. I wanted you to hear that, jeered the master villain.
Well, you won't get away with this,
said LarryBoy. I already did, laughed Iceberg. In fact, I accomplished what my father, the Snow King, could never do. I conquered Bumbleberg.
Yeah, well, you won't get away with this for much longer,
said LarryBoy.
I'm a trained superhero. We are taught to take care of villains like you.
Oh, yeah? replied Iceberg. And just what did they teach you?
Stuff,
said LarryBoy.
I just don't remember it right now.
Ha! Iceberg gloated. A superhero that doesn't pay attention in class.
I don't need to pay attention in class,
LarryBoy retorted.
I don't need classes to defeat you.
I wish you would be quiet, said Iceberg. You're ruining my celebration party.
I'll take care of him,
said Frostbite.
Hey, Pickle Boy. I'm not a Pickle Boy, said LarryBoy. I'm a Cucumber Boy.
Whatever. I dare you to stick your tongue to the ice bar of your cage.
That's silly,
said LarryBoy.
Why would I do that?
Are you a chicken? Taunted Frostbite.
No, I'm a cucumber,
said LarryBoy. Prove it, said Frostbite.
Okay,
said LarryBoy, sticking his tongue against the bar.
See? No problem.
But when LarryBoy tried to pull his tongue back into his mouth, it was stuck.
Hey,
he said.
My tongue is stuck.
Iceberg and the Snow Peas laughed.
Don't laugh,
lisped LarryBoy.
It's not funny.
But the villains laughed even louder because, to be honest, it was funny. Chapter 15. Much later.
Wow, a whole week without school. This is great,
Junior said. He and his friends were on their way to the clubhouse.
Yeah, a whole week of sledding,
said Percy.
It sure is fun,
agreed Rennie.
Isn't it? Of course it is,
said Percy. When they entered the clubhouse, Laura was already there reading, but as her friends entered, Laura hid her book.
What are you doing, Laura?
asked Junior.
Nothing,
she said.
It looked like you were reading,
said Renee.
How was sledding?
asked Laura.
Got it,
Percy shouted. He had sneaked behind Laura and was holding up her book. A math book.
So I was reading a math book,
said Laura.
So what? So we aren't going to school all week,
said Junior.
You don't have to look at math. What if I wanted to? Why would you want to do that?
asked Renee.
To me, math problems are like puzzles,
said Laura.
And without school, well, I miss doing them. I guess I like math. I can't believe it, said Percy. She misses math. What's wrong with that?
demanded Laura.
If you were going to miss anything,
Percy teased, it should be reading.
You miss reading?
asked Junior.
Don't you?
Percy responded.
I'm a pretty good reader, and there are lots of cool stories out there. I was kind of looking forward to reading another one. Someday you will read my books,
said Renee.
When I grow up, I'm going to be a famous author. For real? For real,
said Renee.
Of course, I still have to learn how to become a good writer. When I grow up, I'm going to be an engineer,
said Junior.
You will need to know a lot of math to be an engineer,
said Laura.
I will?
Of course.
Gee, what if Bumbleberg stays frozen and we don't ever get to go back to school? Then I'll never get to be an engineer,
said Junior.
And I'll never become a writer,
said Renee.
Maybe school wasn't so bad after all,
suggested Junior.
I miss art class too,
said Laura, especially painting.
I really liked gym class,
said Percy. There was a long pause.
I think we may have made a mistake,
said Junior.
Do you think so?
asked Percy.
I do,
said Junior.
My dad told me that when you stop learning, you stop growing. He said that God wants us to keep learning even after we grow up. I think we have disappointed him, and maybe a whole lot of other people too. I think you're right, Junior, said Laura. We never should have helped those snow peas. Now we'll never be able to go back to school,
cried Percy.
What can we do now?
asked Renee.
There's only one thing we can do, said Junior. We have to find LarryBoy. Then he can help us make things right again.
Thank you very much. Part 6 is Chapter 16, Follow That Villain, and we'll continue then. See you next time.